Moving on now to the technical presentation, we are looking at human capital development, the role of human capital development in achieving growth in crude oil and gas production levels. And I'll quickly just then invite our panel. All right, so we will take our panelists. We have the licensed body for oil and gas capacity building, which is OGTAN, on the panel. We have a consultant who is also working in the area of human capacity, human capital development on the panel. And of course, NCDMB's Human Capacity Development Department is also well represented. So is TotalEnergies, as well as Seplat. All of them will be, the conversation will be driven by our moderator who is leading. She is Professor Eucharia Oluchi of the University of Port Harcourt. She is joined by the managing partner, Green Consultancy and Allied Services, Chris Osaruwense. Joining them is OGTAN's Energy Consultant Certification Director, Jude Anonu, MNSE. Joining them is our General Manager for Human Capacity Development at NCDMB, Barrister Dane Sweme Kikile. Joining them is the General Manager, Nigerian Content, TotalEnergies Upstream companies in Nigeria, Cyprian Ojum. Completing the list is the Nigerian Content Advisor for Seplat Energy PLC, Simeon Ogari. Let's all give them a round of applause as they take center stage to do justice to the conversation. Professor Eucharia Oluchi, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, distinguished delegates and industry colleagues, friends. It's my pleasure to make welcome to all of you to the second technical session at NOGOF 2025. It's very interesting because the theme of this session, human capital development, the role of human capital development in achieving growth in crude oil and gas production levels, is at the heart of sustainable industry achievement. So it's quite interesting because the energy sector future depends not only on the reserves and the rigs, but also the skills, the capacity, and the resilience of our people. And today we are really very privileged to have 4 respected leaders whose organizations are driving innovation. They're also driving skill development to achieve all of the growth aims at production in the oil and gas value chain. So I encourage all of us to take a listen carefully, reflect critically, and engage meaningfully. So I'll bring on stage, if you don't mind, the very first discussants today, Dr. David Emumena. He is the Managing Director of the Project Management for Success. So I will ask you, Dr. David, from your project management perspective, what is PM for Success doing with human capital development to ramp up the numbers we have in production in the oil and gas sector?
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. PM for Success is an OGTAN registered training provider, and I'm currently the Secretary General of OGTAN, newly elected Secretary General of OGTAN. And in terms of capacity building, we work closely with the IOCs, the service providers, and also NCDMB to organize trainings across the industries. And all of these trainings are targeted at increasing the oil and gas production level, right? So the trainings that are being delivered across the oil and gas industries are to mitigate against the current issues we are having right now, where we have majority of the people that are in the industry right now, they are in their 50s, and we're having a situation where somebody that's above 60 is coming back to go to work. So we're trying to see how we can be able to fill those gaps by training the young ones. Early hours of this morning, I got a call from a company in London, one of those that we were trained by in partnership with the NCDMB and the IOCs, asking for a recommendation. So you can see that we are now having Nigerians, young people that are being trained and they are going into the industries. Some of them are working locally, some of them are being recruited internationally. We've had people that have been trained here, and you see the likes of SIB taking them to work in Kuwait. So we're trying to see how we can be able to mitigate against all of these gaps, so that those that are old, that are living, they can hand over the batons to the young ones to be able to help to increase the production level. And I will also say this, a lot of the marginal feed operators are gradually beginning to plan on how to build facilities, loading facilities. These facilities need to be managed by human beings. They need to be managed by the young people, and this is where the capacity building comes into play, where the training needs, all of these trainings have been identified, and we're working closely with the IOCs, the service providers, and NCDMA, like I said before, to see how we can bridge those gaps and have a workforce that is ready to take over the baton from the ones that are currently retiring from the system. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those insights, especially on youth training to replace the aging experts, and then the collaboration, the power of collaboration to bring about capacity development. Now we move to the OGTAN, the Consultant Certification Director, in the person of Jude, Anonu. So from the certification system perspective, what has OGTAN been doing with human capital development in order to boost the production of crude oil and gas?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to be a part of this session, to share our experiences and the things we're doing at OGTAN, the Director of Certification Services in OGTAN. But just before I go into your question, if you permit me, I want to build on the background, because I think the organizers of this program did well in bringing this particular topic or this theme at this point. Of course, we had to listen to the policy makers yesterday, and then the industry captains, where they rolled out policies, and then, of course, they touched on opportunities. I mean, looked at all the opportunity presentation. And in all of those things, I was able to capture the areas, I mean, the HCD areas, you know. So I'm bringing in HCD at this point. I haven't listened to the policies, and then, of course, the captains of the industry bring out the opportunity areas. It's quite a good point, a time to discuss HCD. So I'll reflect a bit on what the situation is. What is the position of HCD in the oil and gas industry? First, we look at what growth was defined by or determined by NNPC, where we look at 2 million barrels per day as a target, 2025, and then 3 million in 2030. So this sets a position which we need to begin to explore. What do we need to do from the HCD point of view to meet these needs? And then from some of the presentations yesterday also, there are key things I picked out. First is aspiration to, we should move from aspiration to execution, which was from the ES, you know, and then from the the essay to the President on energy. Two key things, that success in this should not just be measured in barrels, but on impact, and that every invested dollar must translate to jobs. And if you look at the transition, you see we're all moving, all of these things are building onto human capital development. And now, while the captains of industries talked about the opportunities, I listened carefully. I took time to also pick out the areas of concerns or the skill gap areas. And 80% of those skills identified are already addressed or captured within the OGTAN space. I mean, if you look at the professional work group of OGTAN, there are about 14 areas, and all of those have been captured. I mean, okay, well, about 80% of those, and then leaving just a little gap for us to work on in terms of partnership and collaboration to close up on those gaps. And it's on that point I'll come up to speed with what OGTAN is doing at the time. But a quick caveat, because someone asked the question yesterday and someone said maybe the universities should address it. But I think there's need to address a bit of that misconception. Industry skill is quite different from school certificates. And when we talk about school certificates, I think the OGTAN president touched on it yesterday, where he said you could be an engineer, and you're an engineer if current certifies you're an engineer for life. But the truth is your certifications in the industry, after 3 years, they expire. Otherwise, you don't have relevance again. So you continue to train and retrain and then reskill and upskill. So we need to understand that caveat so that we know where we'll be looking at when we want to address problems within the HCD space. So for us at OGTAN, of course, OGTAN has been in existence for close to 15 years. And of course, like every other thing, there are stages in development from nascency to where we are at the time. Quite recently, in order to position ourselves as a platform to drive HCD, and then, of course, the local content narrative of NCDMB and, of course, the nation generally, we have that platform we've provided. We try to make sure we provide quality service by obtaining our quality management certification to ISO 9001. That came just last month. Following up with that, we are trying to get our certification conformity assessment body accreditation. That's to ISO 17065, and then, of course, for our system, and then ISO 17024 for personnel. What's the idea? We want to make sure that the trainings we're conducting and the people we're churning out are people who, those certificates are generally accepted or globally accepted. They satisfy global standards. And beyond that, also locally, we're looking at the responsibility given to us quite recently by NBT, that's National Board for Technical Education, where OGTAN is a sector awarding body for the oil and gas sector. And part of the responsibilities that has come up to us within that space is that we have to develop national occupational standards to address those skill areas that our universities and other systems already existing does not fill in, and specific to the needs of the industry. So we're working on that. I think 3 of us in this panel are members of that sector skill, the development of the national occupational standard. Last month we were here in Port Harcourt to develop about 7 skill areas, coded welding, plant process, about 7 of them. I can't remember all of them here. So those are some of the things OGTAN is doing at the time. I think I'll stop at that, and then perhaps this I'll proceed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, the Consultant Certification Director. Yeah, it's very interesting. He said they are doing in human capital development, evidence-informed decision, policy making. Is very important, and their attendant implementation. He also talked about what they are doing with numbers tracking to see impact, and that's a concept that aligns with monitoring and evaluation and learning lessons from the evaluation done within that confines. Yeah, that's very interesting. And also he talked about the skilling and reskilling that they do for industry certification and upgrade that are attendant with it, so we can be up to date with the knowledge required to perform our work, to see the numbers move in a graph, go up. So thank you so much for those insights. So I will now go to another expert in the room, the General Manager, TotalEnergies. So we go to Mr. Cyprian Ojum. Can you share with this distinguished audience what TotalEnergies has been doing with human capital development and how the attendant impact fares with the organization?
Thank you very much. And a warm welcome to all our distinguished ladies and gentlemen in the audience. Yesterday, during the session that I was involved in, I spent some time to explain what TotalEnergies as a company was doing in this country in the area of project development and the compliance to Nigerian content laws. Today, it's my pleasure also to speak to what the company is doing in the area of human capacity development. I would like to say that TotalEnergies believes in Nigeria. And that believing in Nigeria also means believing in the Nigerian people. There is really nothing you can develop today without people. Human capital or human capacity is basic to every development that you want to make. Every progress that you want to make today, you have to consider human capital. In the NOGOF Act 2010, sections 28, section 29, section 30, section 37, and section 70 specifically mandates all operators and all players in the industry to support and utilize Nigerian capacity. And where it is not existent, train the capacity to the standard that they will be able to be used or to participate in the oil and gas industry. And one important thing that NOGOF Act has done was to mandate that where that capacity does not exist, provision must be made in each contract for each project to involve Nigerians. As a matter of fact, take Nigerian personnel as a question of first consideration. Just the way you would take Nigerian contractors, that's how you would take Nigerian personnel as a matter of first consideration when performing any project. And the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, on the 11th of June 2020, also issued a guideline on human capacity development. So this guideline, if you read that guideline, sections 5 and section 14, it specifically mentions that human capacity must be taken with every seriousness that goes with that project. So as you begin the project, in fact, planning for the project, you are planning for those who work in that project. And planning for their training where you anticipate a gap. So for those of us in the operating side, we have project-based human capacity development, which is capacity development at the back of each of the projects that we perform. And TotalEnergies is very conversant with these regulations. But I would like to tell you today that before the advent of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Act, TotalEnergies had already been doing capacity development in this country. From 2003, we set up our first human capacity development initiative. And from that time till today, the project has turned out 705 world-class graduates. And I'm speaking about the Institute of Petroleum Studies, hosted in University of Port Harcourt. Today, the name has changed to Institute of Petroleum and Energy Studies. From 2003 to today, we've turned out 705 field-ready graduates. As a matter of fact, every year, 20 world-class, and one of them is waving their hands. And that's true. 20 world-class Nigerians. They are trained, they come out of this school, and they can play any role in the oil industry. They hit the ground running because the curriculum is top-notch. There is a marriage between University of Port Harcourt, the Institute of Petroleum in France called IFP, and TotalEnergies. This is a strong three-point cord that cannot be broken. The school is the best in Africa when you talk about energy studies. I can tell you that, and I know what I'm speaking about. Before the end of each session, at least 90% of the graduates are employed. I have been in attendance at over 6 of the graduating ceremonies of IPES. And I can tell you that as at the time they are graduating, 20 of them, about 18 of them are already have letters of employment. And that was the time when that employment did not happen that way. TotalEnergies stepped in to see that these highly trained persons don't go back to the house and sit back doing nothing. So this is one of the very major contributions to TotalEnergies to the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. And people like our sister companies, they enjoy this particular project because TotalEnergies cannot take all 20 of them every year. From 2003 also, we instituted the National Merit Scholarship. And since then, 39,000 Nigerians have been trained. 39,000 Nigerians have been given scholarship at the university level. And from 2010 to 2020, we also trained 30,000 community students, giving them scholarships to access university education. This includes both national, local education, and foreign education. From 2010 also, TotalEnergies instituted a program called Empower the Teachers Program. TotalEnergies entered into a partnership with MIT. And MIT in the US agreed to train professors from Nigeria. So we select professors from various universities in Nigeria and we'll send them to the United States and they train. They come back to train others. So it's called the MIT ETT program. And since the inception of this program in 2010, we have 110 professors in Nigeria that have participated and have benefited from this program. These are verifiable statistics. You can go and ask the professors and they will tell you, or you enter into our website, you will see what's happening. Coming to project trainings from our various projects, Egina, Ikike, Apple project, and Osan, Ofon, we have recorded over 800 project trainees, persons trained at the back of our projects. Why are we doing this? Because we recognize that human capacity is key. Today we say, Nigerian Content Board is measuring progress from 6% to 26% to 56%. We are going to 70%. If human capital is not developed by 2027, instead of 70%, we may have a negative figure. Because if you want to keep this house running, human beings have to be there. If you build this house and there are no human beings, who will go turn off these lights when we leave? Who will close the doors? Who will come in? Even if they are going to use robots, these human beings will still do it. Even in the future, human beings will still be there to control the robots. Otherwise, the robots will go haywire. So you need to have people who are trained in these skills. We are going to the deep sea. We need more skills. So human capacity development is so important. So today, I'm very happy to join this panel and to explain a few things that we are doing as a company. And we will continue to collaborate with OGTAN, collaborate with NCDMB, collaborate with other bodies to see that the future is assured in terms of the persons who will continue the good work that the current generation is doing. Thank you very much. Let me stop at this point.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cyprian, Ojum, for taking us through that journey of TotalEnergies. So the first one that is very important we should note, at the beginning I told us to reflect critically as we listen to this session. So he talked about passion for Nigeria, to have the passion and belief Because if all of the trainings were put together without passion, it's going nowhere. Beyond this room, it's not going to cross. And that gives us mindset orientation, which the globe is preaching about. Mindset. What's the mindset of the people who are working, the workforce, and all those who are coming back to take the stage, as the last speaker also said. Another thing that he said that touched me is intentional project-based training in line with the Nigerian content development best practices for excellence, being intentional to see to the success of all of the projects that they deliver. Then he gave us a whopping number of industry field-ready graduates at the University of Port Harcourt in the Institute of Petroleum and Energy Studies. That's my university, so I am a first-hand witness to these numbers. So what's important again, over 700 persons have been trained, and the industry-academia collaboration undertone is too loud that we must hear it. The industry-academia collaboration that accelerates human capital development, and TotalEnergies is taking a lead in that. It's quite commendable. He also reeled out over 39,000 Nigerian scholarships, locally and internationally. And he said he knows no bounds in terms of region in Nigeria. And also, they are taking people from host communities. That's quite interesting. The last one I want to touch on, coming out from him, is the 110 professors that have been supported to knowledge exchange in the United States. So what I see there is cross-fertilization of knowledge and what NCDMB preaches, showcasing our local content development. So when there is knowledge exchange, it's not only going to take, but we are also given. Then the upskilling in pedagogies that are used in teaching, in research, and for curriculum development to find alignment with what the industry is looking for. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we go back to our first speaker, the Managing Director, PM for Success. So we want to hear from you, sir. In your experience, coming from project management, because that's where you focus on, what are the challenges militating against human capital development, and what mitigation strategies do you recommend?
Okay, so thank you. From my experience, having to be providing training, being a training provider in the industry, working with the IOCs and the service providers, some of the challenges that we've seen is in terms of the gaps, the skill gaps, right? And one of the things that the new, an action point of what the new ESCO of OGTAN is going to be looking at is to have, work with PTDF and NCDMB to have a proper database of skill gaps, then set up how we can be able to bridge that skill gaps by providing these trainings to be able to mitigate against those challenges around skill gaps, right? Now, another thing we also look at is that recently, as part of the job we do for NCDMB, we find out that majority of the organizations, right, there is no proper mechanism to track the amount of trainings that they are being done on a regular basis. We've worked out with NCDMB on a template that is going to be shared very soon with all the companies on how they can be able to track the performance of those that are being trained, how many of them are being trained, and how many of them are gainfully employed on the back of the projects. That we have been able to achieve with NCDMB. A couple of weeks we're going to have that goes out from NCDMB as well. So there's this strong collaboration between NCDMB, the IOCs, OGTAN, the training providers and the service providers on how we can be able to see how we can bridge those gaps by ensuring that the skills that have been identified, we bring in the experts from the industry to come and deliver on those skills to the young Nigerians that are graduates that are looking for opportunities, so that we don't have that gap existing anymore in the coming year in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We go to the second resource person, Jude Anonu, the Director's Consultant Certification at OGTAN. So can you share with us what OGTAN is doing, especially from your experiences? What strategies could be in place? You've identified a lot of challenges which you may want to reel out to the audience. So what are the mitigation strategies OGTAN is presenting to mitigate, to ensure, to bring down the numbers of those concerns that are serving a blockage to making progress with ramping up production?
Okay, thank you very much. I will still commend the organizers of NOGOF, because just yesterday, some of the biggest fears we've always had when we discuss HCD is the fact that you train people and then maybe there are no jobs for them. That's a very big challenge. We've seen that with 3MTT projects and a number of other projects where people are trained, but then how do they fit into the industry? But then with the idea of ramping up production, exploration and production, and with what we saw with the opportunity presentations yesterday, there's so much more to take in. If Dangote is doing 650,000 barrels and then has about, the projection is to engage about 135 persons, both directly and indirectly, 135,000 persons, both directly and indirectly. If Nigeria at the time is at 1.4, right, and we are hoping to get to 2, it means we still need about that 130,000, if I go by that estimate, from Dangote. So it means if we are training these people, there's actually space for them in the industry to get in. So that kind of addresses one of the fears, and that I thank NOGOF for giving the opportunity for us to hear all of those presentations from the opportunity presentations. The other side of it is I talked about our conformity assessment body for our systems and processes. That is ISO 17065 accreditation, and then, of course, 17024 accreditation. These things cost money. OGTAN is not a profit organization. We need funds to move to drive some of these things. Of course, NCDMB has been supporting. I mean, we've got the first tranche of support fund in the course of this accreditation, and then the second tranche. And then we're expecting more, collaborations and support, from people like Total. They are doing something already, and then we expect more, to say, yes, we want to fund the curriculum. There are skill gaps. Mr. Cyprian has been in the industry for quite a long time, and I tell you, there are things he knows you can't quite get from the regular school. We need to put some of those things together. That's the idea of the NOS. And then, of course, if you take time, you can find out about the NSQF, that Nigerian Skills Qualification Framework. Because we want to begin to identify things about recognition of prior learning, right? Learning takes place. Education is not just something that happens between the four walls of the school. It's something that's continuous. But most times, the emphasis on certificates derails those things that actually improves human capacity, right? So there's that consciousness we want to bring back in terms of developing nurses that can capture these things, and then through the NSQF, recognize prior learning, and then people can develop their skills. Part of the mandate we were given is domestication and domiciliation, because before now, there is a lot of vendoring, certificate vendoring, where people train. Yes, the training is done in Nigeria, but certifications are from abroad. The bulk of the work is done here, but we pay the bulk of the money out. We want to, checkmate that capital flights and do these things here. We have the capacity. I just mentioned people like him, and there's so many other persons in the industry that have been there. We want to put together this knowledge you have, put down the curriculum, train people, and then sustain the industry. So those are some of the challenges, and the measures we are taking is get these certifications, domesticate and domiciliate these trainings, so that those funds can remain here, and then, of course, our people get more empowered or get more returns from their ventures. Of course, advocacy. There's apathy with everything TVET. And if you are familiar with the Ashby Commission, I think 1932 or 1923, I can't remember clearly now, that's where we moved from the National College of Arts, Science, and Technology to the universities that bettered the UNN, ABU, and the Ibadan or Ife, I can't remember which now, there has been that concern and apathy about most things that has to do with skills. But the truth is, skill drives the economy, whether we like it or not. The informal sector drives a lot of things, you know. So that apathy, we are trying so much to create advocacy so that people begin to see reason and buy into what we're doing. Don't look at it that it's OGTAN, it's Nigerian. Yes, it's OGTAN, it's Nigerian. It can get better. It may not just be perfect immediately. We've seen it in the music industry. It didn't start where it is today. It didn't start there. I mean, it took a while. But now, I mean, Nigerian music is global. We want to do that same thing within the training sector, I mean, especially in the oil and gas industry. And we need that support. We need support, I mean, advocacy. We are reaching out, believe in what we're doing, and we're giving in our best. We are committed to it. I mean, I said 80% of the skill gaps identified. OGTAN members, they are seated here. They covered those trainings. They need support so that we can domesticate and domesticate those trainings. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we take the last question from esteemed resource person, Mr. Cyprian. So can you share with us, sir, in your experience, what challenges that you can identify while we are not making much progress with human capital development as regards their impact in production of the crude oil and gas?
Okay, thank you very much. I do not really see challenges in this area.
Yes,
I do not really see challenges. The main challenge, let me say, what I can call a challenge in this area is the lack of employment opportunities for the persons who are trained. That's what I would see as a challenge. But the training itself, there's no challenge. We have over 3,000 persons trained in the NCDMB NJQS, trained from that point today, trained in various skills, but I don't know how many of them have gainful employment. So I don't see challenges there. The challenge for human capital development is not money. It's not money. The challenge is not certification bodies. The challenge is not facilities. The challenge is when they are trained, who is employing them? So it comes back to a basic question. The challenge is that we don't have sufficient number of projects. We don't have sufficient number of opportunities for those who are trained. As I speak to you, we just finished training 78 persons on marine services, cadets on COC and sea time. We just finished training them. 28 in Ghana and about 50 in the Philippines. We just finished training them with a huge sum of money coming from HCD. Well, how many of them are going to be sailing on our vessels? Where are the vessels? The vessels we have, they're quite few. The Nigerian flagged ones are also quite few. So when you bring the foreign flagged ones, maybe the crew may not even be Nigerian. So when you train them, where are they going to work? So the challenge more is the opportunities. And that's why I would like to commend the federal government for the steps that the federal government have taken recently. On the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th of March last year, the federal government issued the 3 executive orders on fiscals, on the contracting timelines, and on the Nigerian content initiatives. And this is driving investment. From what you heard in the sessions yesterday, it's already driving investment, making Nigeria, I mean, a very, very, a very, very fertile destination for investments in the last couple of months. So we commend the federal government for that step. When projects come, when people are trained, they will have jobs to take. The next thing I would like to say is that the oil industry is not labor intensive. It's not labor intensive. It's capital intensive, but it's not labor intensive. So another thing I would like to commend the federal government is on this new Nigeria First initiative, which is talking about more of manufacturing, more of procurement. So when we go into manufacturing, we create jobs. One manufacturing company alone can employ 5 times what 3 or 4 oil companies will employ. So that is a good direction. So when we train people, there is room for them to be absorbed. So this is going to be our direction. I don't see challenges in training people. OGTAN is there. OGTAN today is capable of training Nigerians. So when OGTAN finishes training Nigerians, where are the Nigerians going to work?
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cyprian. We can see that they 3 are all united in saying we do not have challenges for training, but then knowledge of where they are, who has trained, who has been trained. Oh, thank you. Who has been trained where they are. So poor tracking for resources. So we want to have awareness, improve awareness, and improve knowledge. Advocacy. We had a challenge of knowledge apathy. So we have to use technologies, as OGTAN said, use evolving technologies to make this training, this learning, infuse it with vigor, infuse it with interest, and also drive efficiency in that field. So we also have low patronage of those who have been trained, according to TotalEnergies. Improving networks will be great for uptake of those who have been trained against lauded government efforts in driving uptake of those who have been trained in exercises like improving the manufacturing space and all other job-driving initiatives of government. So we take 2 questions to wrap up with this session. 2 burning questions. Oh, okay. There are many hands.
There are many hands, but we cannot take. What we can do is, since we will have lunch much later,
Sure.
you can use part of that as networking to ask other questions you have. But because of time, we'll take the microphone to her first. Okay.
Good afternoon, distinguished panelists. My name is Yorogama Ogbaifun. I actually run a maritime company. So when you said that you were training cadets, I found it very interesting. And so my question is, when I attend events like this, I hear that there's training happening, but there seems to be a disconnect between maybe what the industry actually requires and the training that's happening. And I'm wondering, so that's why you have, where you're training people, they come out, there's nowhere to go, nobody to employ them, or no opportunities. And I'm just wondering, how do we bridge that disconnect between the industry and all the various HCD programs and initiatives that exist, whether through OGTAN, through the IOCs, working through NTDMB? How do you think we can bridge that disconnect so we can begin to actually meet the training requirements directly, so that there is a proper fusion between training and opportunity? Thank you.
Who wants to go?
Yeah, in fact, I think that question is for OGTAN, because there's something similar to that came up yesterday. That is why OGTAN exists.
Hold on, let's be done with the questions.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yes. Are we in the morning or the afternoon? Good afternoon, everybody. My question is really speaking to the heart of this panel. So I think we're like in a phoenix moment in the Nigeria oil and gas industry. As NUPRC wants to drive for 1 million barrels incremental volumes. Cyprian, I know you say that we have people, they're trained. But if we need, for example, Total to double production, do you believe that there's no skill gap? You know, what would you as Total, for example, or any of the other operators, how will you recruit, or how will you add? Because I don't want a situation where a few months down the line, we start bringing 3,000 welders, 4,000 divers, all the lifting people, reservoir engineers. the critical skills that you need to get that 1 million more barrels of production coming through in the next few years. Or we think about the decade of gas, where we say we want to add, how much more incremental gas production, we want to drill new gas wells, we want to do new gas projects. I really want to know whether there's been any, as part of that effort, the executive orders and the production increase, whether there's been any intentional effort to look at the human capital or human capacity area to say, what do we have, what do we need, what is the gap?
Okay. I think we're done with
I think we've taken 2 females.
Okay.
Let's just take a male, and then
Okay.
that makes it 3. We'll get the answers so we can
All right.
move.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Mazi Sam Azokonyechi. I'm the outgoing OGTAN president. So mine is actually like a contribution to answer these questions, because the truth is that it stems from what my brother Cyprian said about training and not having the right, the right jobs for the guys. So I want to just chip in that there's a disconnect, quite all right, because if we all know what we need, just like Madam Fumi is saying, which area, are we looking at? The industry needs to meet with OGTAN and NCDMB. I think we need a session where at our NCCF, we've tried to do something like that, but it's not been, Oluchi, you were there. It's not been intentional, it's not been focused, it's not been directed at understanding what kind of skills gaps are we looking at that are needed. For instance, I know that in our National Operational Standards Forum, he was the person who suggested that the industry needs divers. And that's why NCDMB adopted divers training as one of the curriculums that's currently under development. So my take on this is, can we have, because the truth is, the industry skills are global currencies. There was a time PTDF trained almost 1,000 welders before one thing led to another, and they're no longer doing that. But those 1,000 welders that were trained under the International Institute of Welding schemes are not in Nigeria right now. Skills are a global currency. Industry skills, they are looking for them all over Africa. Oil is found everywhere. Nigeria is being looked at to lead the provision of these relevant skills. So even if we don't train for Nigerian market or projects, I'm telling you, so long as these guys are trained and certified under acceptable international schemes, they are all over this world. They can go out. India does that. Their GDP their contribution of human capital to their GDP is probably up to 40% of their entire GDP. Philippines, they do that. China does that. So many countries train industry-wide, industry-relevant skills for export. So we can do that. They don't need to, that diminishes the volume of unemployment that we already have in the country. These guys are comfortable, and then their money is transmitted back to Nigeria in USD or any other foreign currency. So they also improve our economy. So that's what we need to have a sit down. Oluchi, if this can be done, we will be able to steer the industry towards what we are. And that's why we have a certification division. We are taking on so many of these things. People are sponsoring these things. The important thing is, let's believe that OGTAN can do this, and then we have the wherewithal to steer this in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so let's listen to the response by.
Okay, so once again, thank you for that question. The question that Hero put forth, right? The disconnect between what the industry wants and what we are training on. This is actually a question that is supposed to be answered by NCDME, but I will answer it on their behalf. Now, for every project that is being trained on, right? NCDME capacity building will make it mandatory that the training that you are providing the service that you are providing should be tied to the training that you are providing. So, for example, Mr. Cyprian trained 78 cadets, right? That contract that project is trained on, those training was done on, is on the back of a marine contract, right? So they've identified what the training needs are, and that is why they decided to go and train for cadets. So for a subsea engineering, for Bunga, for example, main Bunga, Bekarush is the one handling that project on behalf of SNEPCO. And they said, okay, we have this project, we need to train. They are going to be training subsea engineering. So I think what is happening is that NCDMB working with the IOCs, when these training plans are being developed, when the service providers are developing training plans, sending to the IOCs before it gets to NCDMB, NCDMB is making mandatory that whatever training plan you are sending in should be able to address the needs of that particular project that you are delivering on, so that there will be no gap. So I think that is what we should be able to look at. So this conversation is NCDMB will make probably send a memo out, then everybody understand that this is how this process is being done, so that no one will be left out in this whole training processes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. You had something to say?
I mean, if my boss has addressed it.
I think he has addressed it.
Okay, that's fine. Do you have anything to add to that, sir?
No, I wanted to thank Mazi for the clarification that he gave, because that was very apt. He has cleared what I would like to say. There is need for more collaboration, and conferences like this should come up with action points. When we talk and come again and talk and come again and talk, and there is no action point, I mean, the energy will keep diminishing every year. So I think an action point could come up from now. Say, let's plan a meeting, a collaboration meeting, OGTAN, NCDMB, IOCs, SCCF, people that are in the stakeholders in this issue, and discuss how do we manage the training. People are trained in scattered form. We're operating in silos, and maybe we're training the same person that Shell is training, the same skills that Chevron is training. We should come together and know, what do we need? Who do we want to train? How? Where? We can pull the funds as well, and then train the people. Like you said, today, skills are, real capital. Most of our people train, they are not here. When we train them, they leave. They're not working for Nigerian companies. I can tell you that. They are working outside Nigeria. But we train them because we don't have enough projects to employ them. So thank you very much, Mazi. And I think it's been a very good session. Institute it from OGTAN, from NCDMB. And we as operators, I'm chairman of OPTS Nigerian Content Subcom. So if you invite us, I will seek permission from OPTS ESCOM, and we will attend, so that the monies we are spending on training, we can see how it is being properly applied. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, colleagues.
So,
what we have had today goes a long way to reaffirm that human capital development is not optional, but strategic. So whether it is technical training, it is skills mapping and skills matching, it is policy alignment, it is certification systems, or local content development, we now have a clearer insight on how human capital development develops and ups the production of oil and gas. On behalf of the organizers of NOGOF 2025, I extend heartfelt thanks to you, our excellent speakers, for sharing their experiences, their expertise, and competencies. To you, our warm audience, for your time and engagement through contributions and questions, even those who couldn't have the opportunity. Let's carry forward these ideas to action points driving stronger and resilient African energy sector together. Before I say thank you, I would like to have a clap for all of us, even to the MC. No, not that way. Not that way. Wait a minute. We have seen the movement to ramping up production. So we're going to clap locomotive clap so we can move. So follow my hand. When you see my hand, you clap.
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
enjoy the rest of the fair.